I am often asked, what are the secrets that makes me an entrepreneur? Basically, when one thinks of an entrepreneur, one thinks of the likes of Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Stefano Pessina, etc. But in reality, when you look at the Oxford English Dictionary, the definition of an entrepreneur is anyone who sets up a business or businesses taking risks in hope of making profits. That means every single businessman, no matter how large or how small, they're entrepreneurs. But on that count, let's see what are the key points as far as I'm concerned. Firstly, believe in yourself. You have to believe in yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will. You have to think positive. That's something I learned when I was young, when I read Napoleon Hill, one of the greatest business books ever written, called Think and Grow Rich. His philosophy was that it's not something that you're born with necessarily. You can acquire it. And what do? If you want to do something, you write it down, you repeat to yourself every day, till you say, what are you going to do for it? And you carry on repeating until you begin to take it as a right. If you look at Ryder Cup recently, those golfers did not have negative thoughts halfway through the swing, because they know muscles don't have memory. If you think negative, that's when the brain transmits a message to the muscle, and muscle behaves irrationally, and you hit your ball in the hazard. Constraint is something that holds people back. But let me tell you something about constraint. It's an 80-20 rule. 80% of the constraints are from within. Only 20 are from outside. So really, if you need to believe in yourself, you need to know what your constraints are and how do you overcome them and let go. The second point is courage and persistence. Experts say that it's the courage to take your first step. That's the most important. Having taken your first step and embark on your entrepreneurial journey, then the courage to persist is equally important. Courage is something that you can acquire or is sometimes entrusted upon you by events. Let me talk about the East African Asians. When Idi Amin decided to throw out all the Asians out of Uganda in 1974, a lot of them ended up in England. Many of them were teachers, civil servants, doctors, architects, dentists. They never owned business before, but when they came to England, there were barriers to jobs. And so what did they do? They started acquiring the convenience stores. They changed the landscape of British shopping habits. That courage came because they had no other option but to put their little saving into a business and use a network to support them. In my case, last year I climbed the Kilimanjaro with my 3 children and my wife, and the courage came from a colleague of mine who I go skiing with. We sometimes go off-piste skiing, and I trust him and I follow him down the slope. And he said, Kirit, you can do it. And for a guy who has not climbed anything more than Box Hill, to reach the Uhuru Point was incredible. I really broke down when I got there. The third point is you must have a very clear vision. You must know who you are and what you want. You must have a clear game plan of what you wish to achieve. Take, for example, as a Liverpool fan, I asked, what is Brendan Rodgers' game plan? His vision is to select the best team, train them, motivate them, and put them out there to go and win the game. Let's take mountain climbing. If you wanted to climb a mountain, you don't just turn up one day and start off. You select which face you want to climb, what equipment, what resource you need, who you will trust to be on a mission with you, and how you're going to motivate them to make sure that somebody doesn't fall out or decide to change their mind halfway. And collectively, by working as a team, you achieve the game. The fourth point is to evaluate the risk. Having decided what you're going to do, You must look at the probability of success. Entrepreneurs are not gamblers. They are calculated risk takers. And the risk got to be in their favor. You have to look at the upside and the downside. And the downside must be manageable. And then, of course, it's important to do the analysis. For example, when I buy a pharmacy, I do a SWOT analysis and a pest analysis. In the SWOT analysis, I look at the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats that the business faces. But more importantly, because it's pharmacy in nature and government is our paymaster, I look at the political threats, the economical threats, sociological threats, the technological threats. After putting everything down on a piece of paper, I look at the probability of my success. Then I do my diligence as well. I look at the local competition, where is the market going to change locally, what is going to happen, the size of the property, the condition of the property, or whatever business that I'm getting into. In my case, pharmacy, we look at what can go wrong and what's the likelihood of things going right. And then I begin the journey. For example, if you are thinking of buying a pharmacy, then you must carry out a thorough due diligence. Look at the condition of the surgery building. Is it likely to be demolished, relocated elsewhere? Is the supermarket nearby already has a pharmacy, or is it likely to acquire one? What is the competition like? Are there going to be any major changes? Worth checking out with the local council, see what they're proposing over the next 10 years, because 10 years in business is not that long. Having done all that valuation, then you go and acquire your pharmacy and start your first business. The fifth point is execution. Or should I say execution, execution, execution. Unless you are the smartest person in the world, somebody else has already thought about what you're trying to do. And so what makes it different is not the idea itself being innovative, but it's the manner of the execution that's paramount. And that means leadership quality. Great leaders like Richard Branson, they inspire others and they motivate others. In any service industry, it is the most empowered, motivated, and skilled workforce that can deliver the best care. And pharmacy now is no different. In my case, pharmacy we found is very much a service industry. We do not sell product, we sell health. And therefore, we too have to motivate our staff and invest in them. In Delaware, we have gold invested in people, accreditation. Very few companies achieve that. We have not done it to put a logo on the letterhead. We've genuinely done it because I believe people who face the patient at the coalface need to know and be empowered to do the best. Ask yourself, would you go to a restaurant 3 times on a trot, no matter how good the food is or was, if you did not get good service? And business is no different. Delegation is key. You do not need to be a captain of a ship shoveling coal in the engine room. You should be at the helm, motivating the crew, ensuring that the direction the ship is traveling is the right direction and the fuel, the supply, and everything else is adequate. If you then wish to grow from one business on to own multiple, then the secret is to let go of the key. Trust others to run the business and manage your cash for you. Be smarter, not work harder. I tell my children to use their heads and not the hands. For if you use your hands, you can only work 80 hours a week. If you use your head, you can have 2,000 pairs of hands working for you. The sixth point, education. By education, I'm not necessarily talking about business degrees, although that helps. Let me tell you, in 1988, we had 32 shops. The interest rate went up to 14%, and I nearly went bust. Around about that time, I enrolled at university to do an MBE on a part-time and evening basis. Whilst I was relating my business to the academic learning, it became very obvious I was going to go bust. So we started divesting a lot of our shops. I went down to 8 shops from 32 and managed to survive. But by education, I mean learning. You could learn from books, from networking, from attending seminars. Learning from others is better often. No doubt everybody learns from their own experiences, but a smarter person learns from somebody else's mistake. As our business has got bigger, it's going where I have not been before. So how do I ensure that I don't make mistakes that others have? The easy access for me is Harvard Business School case studies. You can look at any industry case study. What applies to other industries can also equally apply to us. Whether you sell nuts and bolts or you sell Panadol, it doesn't matter. People are people, marketing is marketing, technology is technology, and economy is economy. And by seeing what mistakes other companies have made in the past, or what good they've done for the success, and emulating them, is a great way of ensuring that you stay away from the risk and you stay on the path of success. The 7th point is honesty and integrity. No business can be successful for long unless it stays on the path of honesty and integrity. The saying that what goes around comes around is very true. You never know. Whichever industry you're in, the world is always small. It is not long before people find out whether you have integrity or not. People who get treated with integrity respond back sincerely. I always remember my mother teaching me that what you take dishonestly in one hand will simply leave you from the other. The 8th point is networking. In life, you are judged by the company you keep, and in business, it's no different. It's often best to network with others. You share information. You can share your risk. You pick up pointers on how to expand your business. Networking is a great thing, whether you do with your peer group, people from the same industry, or any other industry, or local association. If you're going to invest in your business, then invest time in networking. Point number 9, lateral thinking and innovation. Entrepreneurs are not necessarily smarter than others. They just think differently. Learn to think out of the box. Lateral thinking is not necessarily a characteristic that you necessarily have to inherit. Lateral thinking can come from exercises like mind mapping. Mind mapping is a great tool where you use both sides of your lobes and be amazed at what content from your brain comes out on a single sheet of paper. Innovation is important, but innovation comes from thinking beyond and thinking out of the box. Point number 10, finger on the pulse. Having embarked on your entrepreneurial journey, it is important to know where you're going. You would not embark on a long journey on a stormy night without a dashboard. And business is no different. You must know exactly where you are every day, how much cash you have, what is your profit, what's your cost. And as business gets bigger, you manage by what we call KPIs, which is the key performance indicators. And you manage the ones that fall out. You can't focus on every single one of them. In my case, I have nearly 250 shops. So even if you take 10 key indicators for each shop, that's 2,500 indicators to look at. Nobody can look at that on a daily or monthly basis. It's very much like an old TV program that I remember from my youth called One Man and a Dog, where a shepherd, with help of 1 or 2 sheepdog, had to put 50 sheep in a pen. And what the shepherd did was whistle, and the dog then looked at which sheep had strayed out of the flock and put it back. And the sheep moved forward. And that is how we run our business. You manage by exceptions. Point 11, do not be put off by failure. Entrepreneurs know that all business ventures are at risk. And if one fails, just get up, dust yourself off, learn from it, and start again. I always remember my experience on the night in Istanbul, Liverpool, AC Milan. I had hardly sat down in my seat. We were 1-0 down. By half-time, 3 goals down. The fans sang "You Never Walk Alone." The team came out, and you know the rest is history. Liverpool came back with the European Cup for the 5th time. It's all about having the courage to get up and start again. Point 12, have fun. You would not embark on a long, long journey unless you're going to enjoy every single milestone on the way. Even if you never made it to the end of the destination, would not be nice to enjoy the journey while it lasted? I remember last year, 3 colleagues and myself, we traveled to India. 17 countries, 22,000 kilometers, reaching a height of 17,000 feet. We were not sure we were going to make it, whether we were going to be stopped at the Russian border or turned back at the Chinese. Could somebody hijack our car? Could we have an accident? But what we did decide to do is just have fun every day while the journey lasted. And finally, the 13th point is give back. You never know sometimes who's helped you. And at times you forget those who helped you. But in order to repay the debt to all those people, you pay forward. You help others so they in turn can help others. Being successful is not about the wealth that you accumulate. It's about a person that you become. Thank you.